the surface is not polished, right? So when light will hit different areas, it will shatter around, right? So it will not create hotspot. But the first picture is very polished, okay? So light is reflecting in a perfect manner. So it will create a hotspot. But the earth is not, of course, when the sunlight will hit the earth, it will of course hit some stone and something. It will not hit a flat, perfect surface. So it will not create a hotspot. Are you getting the point?
Yeah, but if you
You-
see the pictures above that sphere, I searched the internet for Earth hotspots, and that was from a photographer from the Philippines, and
Okay,
it's
so
a similar circle shape.
quick question, Newman. Is there something to be said about the idea that, I mean, these boulders that have been presented as not displaying hotspots, what is it, like? It's a polished surface. It's like the size and scale of it is relative to the surface texture. And yeah, like, who posted that? Is that Shoe Bill? Yeah, cheers, man. So the, like, what is it? The size and scale of it sort of should be sort of relevant to the polishedness of it, right? So I mean, the moon is said to be this massive, massive thing. It's pretty much perfect circle. It has a textured surface, but only granular to, you know, once you go down and actually like land upon it, supposedly, right? But for this, like, for the scale of the object and the given nature of the surface, don't they say something like the Earth would be like smoother than a cue ball if you were to sort of scale it down? So then cue balls indicate, was it
but
hotspots?
it doesn't. Yeah, but we can't compare it, like, because when the light is hitting the earth, light doesn't light don't need to know like earth is big or something, it's smoother or not. It's just hitting the surface, okay? So when the light will hit a surface like the earth, so earth is not a flat polished surface. So when the light will hit it, it will go all directions, here, there, okay?
No.
Well, you've guys
So
have
it
seen
will,
the videos, right, where the hotspot travels across the globe from right to left. You've seen that, right? You'll see this white circle go across the
Are you
face
talking
of
about
the
what
globe.
Shoebill just posted?
Let's see. Yeah, something like
Or was
that. Yeah. See
Yeah.
how it's going over the water and it's having that white spot, that circular hotspot.
yeah.
I
Do
can
do you
tell
know?
that's
Do you know
fabricated
what's
just
the,
from the clouds. Look at the clouds,
Oh,
man. Like, the clouds
for sure.
barely move over the course of an entire day, and this is what they think that this looks real. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's really good. Do you know what's the better argument than talking about the hotspot? Like, even when I was debating one day, I was debating Nicktoon. So I didn't said him where is the hotspot. I asked him, like, when we see the moon, so moon from the center to the corner, the luminosity of the moon is similar. But if the moon is a sphere, then the luminosity in the center should be more and corners should be less. So this is a right argument, other than saying that there should be a hotspot on the moon, because when we see a stone with a hotspot, the moon, if it's a circle, then there should be also a hotspot. Now, the right thing is the center point, the point of our center where we are just watching it in the right angle. It should have more luminosity at the day of full moon in compared to the corners. That's the right argument. And it's a real question. No glober can answer that if they are honest enough. That why the corners of the moon are as luminous as the center. Sometimes the corners are even looks more luminous. No one can answer that. According to me, they just
Yeah, I
need to
agree with
answer.
you.
Oh,
It's a part of that's a part of the hotspot argument, though, right? Although I do appreciate where you're coming from as far as articulating it slightly differently.
that's slightly different. Like, we just need to say why the moon is luminous from the center to the corner. Sometimes the corners are more bright. Just observe the moon, okay, in the real world, and you will see the corners are more bright. And it will not look like, oh, it's a sphere that is just reflecting the light. It will look like the moonlight is just coming to you from the moon surface. And the corners are even more bright than the center. It will look like that.
I'm wondering if Shoebill's what is that? The Earth thing sort of lit up from, what is that, right to left? I mean, is that a composition? As far
No,
as, like, we have
that's
to layer the clouds on top of the Earth,
Nope. That's the
that-
Himawari satellite.
so it's not a composition then.
No.
Do you, like, so you buy this, man? Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm looking at this. As the Earth becomes, like, right, I don't know if it's happening at the same time on your screen, but as it lights up from right to left, right, you see this kind of like the reflection of the sun, that sort of hotspot. It it's really bright, and then it just dulls out all of a sudden for some curious reason. You see it over
Yeah,
on the
the
right?
angle of the angle of incident when it gets near, when it starts out on the right edge. Yeah, it's a little sharper.
It doesn't
when it gets
happen
out
over the other side there.
Well, the clouds. There's far more clouds on that side.
Yeah, so
Oh,
why
that's
we
a
never
cool
see
argument.
so why we never see that hotspot on the moon from the Earth? Never ever.
The albedo of the moon is quite different, just like the rocks I posted above that.
You think like the water on the Earth is completely flat? Okay, and the other question is, Shiobil. So it can debunk your whole thing in a second. When you see that computer the Himawari, okay, so they have taken some picture, okay, from the moon, from the sky of the Earth. So you can't see the stars in the background. Now you can come up with an argument that this Earth is so bright that it's because of the brightness of the Earth we can't see the stars. But so when the Earth is completely darkened, okay, so you can pause it at a point where Earth is completely darkened, we can't really see the Earth. So still we can't see the star. Why?
Because
I would just say
the camera's exposure settings, exposure settings did not suddenly go to the high ISO and long frame rate.
Do you think Australia? Like, look at Australia there. Look how crimson red that is.
Yeah, it's a digital camera, and yeah, they have it has bandwidths. It's more sensitive.
What do you think about the clouds?
What about the clouds?
Mate, I see this cloud. Like, if I go look up on the satellite and I see how much the dynamics of the cloud changes just overhead, I can just look at the sky and see what's going on, man. Like, we'll see a whole bunch of clouds come over, and then there'll be no clouds the rest of the day. And this whole like whatever this animation is that's going on here, like the clouds generally are holding their position.
Well,
Like,
clouds seem to be
they're
moving.
moving.
Yeah,
They're not dynamically changing, is what I would expect.
as you would expect. And so here's photographic of what they do.
Yeah, but your whole claim is on the legitimacy of this, and I'm basically saying that it doesn't seem to me that like this is not a natural cloud movement formation. This is too slow. Just like spend it. I don't know, dude. I spent a long time looking at I work outdoors. I got to keep an eye on the rain. I spent a long time looking at what's going on overhead. I can see the dynamic changing happening constantly. And I just look at that and look at the band of clouds that sits over the top of Australia that's coming in from the west to the east. It just like that band just holds there throughout the course of the entire day. Basically, come on. This is not real.
You don't have one huge cloud covering 1/4 of Australia?
I've seen that cloud formation showing up, and I actually think that they've got some form of geoengineering way that they are channeling from that top left-hand side over like the section's got like Western Australia up near Broome, and they channel in sort of a whole bunch of moisture coming in from the sky. So I mean that kind of matches up. Like that cloud formation actually does match up with a lot of cloud formations I have seen. It's just that they don't last that entire day like that.
Oh, I see.
Like the dynamics are happening on that entire globe. I would expect to see whole sections like just flipping out a cloud and then other cloud, like a whole other section just lighting up with cloud. This seems to be like this uniform sort of slightly morphing cloud formation.
It's over. It looks like 10 years old now.
I boosted the server, so probably I can now send the pictures, but still I can't.
Oh, Taylor, you missed it. I was hoping you would share your input. We were looking at some of the pictures from the moon with the supposed hotspot. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay,
Hotspot.
well, I sent them to your DM as well. So whatever's easier, you could just view them in the live stream one. I could drop it, or you could just look at your DM. And no rush, you don't have to do it now. I know you're busy.
Taylor. So, show Bill, you just given an excuse that why there is no stars in the background when the Earth is completely in dark, and you are taking the pictures of the Earth. Do you think it's a good excuse? Because you are just seeing nothing on the Earth, and background stars should be visible and should be captured in the camera, but it's not. Not a single stars, never ever from Himawari.
Well, well, if the camera exposure would increase its ISO and exposure time, then you would also start to see lights on the surface of the Earth as well. But the camera did not auto expose, the auto setting exposure. It's in a fixed exposure setting. So yeah, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to give you other than what every other industrialized country in the world uses as information for weather, and it's like you just don't like it because you don't think it doesn't look right. But every industrialized country in the world utilizes this stuff.
I don't see any
Just
light.
referring to empire, bro. Oh, the empire all
Yeah.
says the same thing. The Catholic Church all says the same thing. So like, what else do you expect me to do? I'm just going to say what the empire says or the Catholic Church says. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Risky. I was just thinking, I don't even see lightning. There should be how many lightning strikes every second? 100.
That's interesting too. Do you think
Yeah.
you'd see lightning strikes? Yeah,
Where's
where are the
the
lightning? I love that. I'm going to use that. Go ahead, Newman.
Like he's saying, just because of the settings of the camera, like Himawari is working from years, but never ever in its career captured a single star. How strange it is! Can you still believe that? It's like sometimes when Himawari is capturing the pictures of the Earth is completely dark. We can't even see the Earth. There's all blackness, and he's still saying the camera settings are exposure are some ways like it's just ignoring
Well,
the
see,
stars because of some
wait up.
lights.
This
It
is
doesn't
this
work.
is a great this is a great point. You can't see the Earth as soon as it blacks out like that, right? But we were watching Seafoam's camera capturing the eclipse just the other night, and the dark, like you could see the dark aspect of the moon. You could see the shadow, like being cast upon, but you could actually see details within the shadow. Why would you be able to see details within the shadow like that? And what are they saying? Like the size of the Earth, right? The size, like the thickness of the atmosphere. They're saying that the light that skims across the surface of the Earth, within that atmospheric sort of that thin sliver, then sort of refracts the light across the surface of the moon, and that's why it becomes red. But you can see this is a fantastical notion. Just do that in a model for me, man. Just make a ball with a little bit of like thing around the outside of it, and show me on the back surface of like at some relative scale it casting a similar. That would be lovely. So I don't know, like just to sort of consolidate my point though, why could I see the details of the moon within the shadow, but then when it comes to this Himawari, apparently like the Earth is just black, and that's it.
Yeah, and when the Earth is black, just imagine there are cities there, London, New York, and in the nighttime they are completely bright. Okay, so now when the NASA takes the pictures of the Earth from the sky at the nighttime, they show, oh, the Earth is looking so bright because of the street lights, because of the city lights. But in the Himawari picture, they never even by accidentally captured a single dot of light from a city like New York.
Great point.
So it has nothing to do with the settings and the type of the camera, do you think?
It's convenient, we think.
I mean,
it's very convenient.
No. I mean, most of you probably use cameras, and not just mobile phones, but digital or old-fashioned photographic cameras, and adjust the settings, see what you see, and how it changes what you can see.
Okay, so this is why I was trying to get away from the camera argument by trying to represent the idea of what was going on with the lunar eclipse just recently, right? We could literally see that the moon, you could still see the dark aspect of the moon, despite the fact that it's within complete shadow cast from apparently the Earth down upon within the umbra, right? And we can still see the details inside of the umbra. What's going on, Stefan?
Is the sun bigger than the Earth?
Apparently.
Yeah. But
what does that mean? Bigness has got nothing to do with the angular aspect of the nature of light. You can't just say because big, Therefore, like, we can just absolve ourselves of the rules of light that we observe.
Well, it does affect what you see of a shadow, though. I mean, just test it out. Have a large light source and a smaller object, and a smaller object behind it.
So you're saying that the Himawari, right, was not capable of capturing any light coming from either New York or anything coming from, like, a refractive aspect coming from the solar system in some way, shape, or form, right? But then when it comes to the lunar eclipse, that we can see the moon in the shadow of within the umbra. We can see the details within the umbra of the shadow cast by the Earth upon the moon.
And if you want to take a photo, then would you change the settings of the camera compared to what settings you would have on a bright day?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. It's like I don't know. Have you been out in the wilderness where there's no artificial light? And notice how your night vision becomes a hell of a lot better after about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reckon that just solves all the problems, does it?
I didn't say that, did I? It was just like another example of how you can see things at very low light if you're in an area which is really dark as well.
Okay, but the claim is that there is no light shining upon the moon at the point of the lunar eclipse.
Oh, no, that's not true, though, is it?
Well, where's the light coming from?
I suppose the atmosphere of the Earth has something to do with it as well.
Dude, the atmosphere of the Earth is tiny, 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 thin sliver on the outside of the rock.
But it can refract the light in many different angles.
You're buying this? Okay. It can reflect light in many, many different angles. Okay, cool. You've solved that. Like, you've got the lunar eclipse done and solved. Like, the inconsistencies between the satellite imagery the Himawari satellite imagery that we're observing and the lunar eclipse, there's no inconsistencies there. You win.
Yes. I don't know the actual settings of the Himawari camera. I suppose you don't know either.
Yeah, they think all cameras are. They think all cameras are auto exposure setting, and this one is not. So yeah, different cameras do different things, and he doesn't like this one because he just doesn't think it looks right.
It's like the image, like that double image which was taken off the lunar eclipse, and you can see some stars. If you had longer exposure, there would be more stars around the moon.
Yeah. Did anyone try to photograph it last night?
Oh yeah. Look at the video I just posted.
Was in here.
Yeah, I did.
Note the video I just posted and go to 11:26 near the end.
Yeah, as the moon gets darker and darker and darker, I had to open and open and open until the point where I could actually see the stars as well as the moon. When it was bright, I couldn't see this. I had to expose for the moon, and the stars were not visible.
And look at the end. Look at the end of that video, and he did exactly that.
Yep.
And the moon that to get the stars, the moon completely overexposes to, like, a full moon, looking like a bright full moon.
Why can I see the moon, any detail within the moon at all? This is my point, right? This is See, this is no. The atmosphere of the Earth, like the scalar, is tiny. It's like, if you were to put it down to a cue ball, right? Like, just sort of manageable within our sort of conception and imagination. You can manipulate a cue ball in your imagination. The thickness of the atmosphere, said by the heliocentric model, is, dude, it's like a couple of microns from the surface of that cue ball.
It is very thin, but it also is enough to be able to cause enough refraction around the sun, because the sun is very, very bright, to shine enough light on the moon.
And yeah, you have to
invoking miraculous.
No, you have to open up you have to set the exposure, to a fairly lengthy amount of time to get the moon to look tangerine, and then you get also the stars.
Why would there be any light on the moon whatsoever?
Because of the atmosphere refracting the light around the Earth.
That's unbelievable. You've got a decent-sized atmosphere around the Earth, dude.
Yeah, but it's very minor.
Crazy idea. These are crazy.
It's not a crazy idea.
It's mind-numbing how you guys are managing to conceptualize
just saying.
Again,
it isn't true because you don't believe it's true. You've got no scientific basis for that belief.
You know the size of a marble, right? Just the standardized size of a marble, yeah? And then put another marble the size of the moon, how far away you want. Yeah, like how far away? Like, if I just take the standardized size of a marble, which is like, I don't know, a centimeter in diameter.
Okay.
And then how far away do I have to put the moon at that scale? It's crazy, man, what you guys are thinking here.
Right.
Is that like
then what you
your
want to do
excuses? Your excuses
do is
for this
remove all the
phenomenon
atmosphere.
is just no, it's absurd. It's just
But then remove all the atmosphere, so there's no atmosphere in the way of the light. And what happens? There's nothing to the light.
I don't know. You're coming in a bit rough.
Sorry.
That's right. I don't think any of that moon should be lit up.
And Rixky, in the Himawari, it looks like Australia goes complete dark into complete darkness. Are there no city lights in Sydney?
I would expect so. But these guys would say that the exposure levels weren't high enough to pick it up. So
Yeah, that's correct.
no. It's just an idea. It's not correct. Okay.
Well, we don't know. We don't know the exact specs of the camera on the Himawari. Neither do you. So why do you say no? It can't be. Well, how long are the exposures? What kind of camera do you use? I think they also take in different wavelengths.
Yep. And what's the distance? What's the focal length? There's a bunch of information we don't have.
Yeah. When I tried to take a photo of the Hyakutake comet, that time I only had a camera with a physical film. I think I took about maybe 50 photos in different settings, and one of them came out really nice. The other ones was all right, but background could get too light because it was collecting too much false light or light from the atmosphere and stuff like that. Yeah, so camera settings has a hell of a lot to do with it.
It has everything to do with it.
Last night. Yeah, I did the moon last night. It was I've only got a 200mm lens, so it was a bit rubbish.
Right.
The camera settings are everything. They can do all kinds of, with tracking mounts, get very long exposures with, very high ISO settings. Yeah, you can see these very faint things, with given the, the contrast, the lack of contrast on the dark night sky. That tangerine moon is very, very low light.
Yeah, it's extremely, extremely dark. Yeah, what I really need to do is connect my camera to a telescope, and to do that, I have to buy a telescope.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, another funny thing is we've had quite a lot of northern lights during the winter, and when you look at it, at times it's really faint. But if I use even my camera on my mobile phone at night settings, it comes out so much clearer and stronger because the time it collects light is much longer than I can do with my eyes.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's using computational photography as well. It's taking multiple images and stacking them.
Yeah, 30 pictures. I just took a screenshot of the video that was posted. I'm just kind of curious to the explanation you guys want to offer. Why is it a little bit more lit up on the right-hand side?
You repeat that? Why is it
a little bit more lit on that right-hand side? I got an arrow on the photo. This is like, you got to look at the photo. I don't know if you looked at it or not. See, it's like a little bit brighter.
Yeah, well, the settings of the cameras could be different.
So it's like, it's hiding in the settings of the cameras, okay?
What I'd like
What was
to know
the exposure? Did they have the exact same camera or exposure time?
This is a video that was posted by Shoebill. Okay, I'm taking a screenshot from the photo, like a video that Shoebill was claiming, like this is the thing, right? I'm asking the question, why is it a little bit more lit up on this right-hand side? See how, like, can you see the photo?
On the right-hand side? No, I'm not seeing it, but on the right-hand side, well, what time?
What time? Dude, don't comment unless you've actually looked at the photo. So, like,
I understand what you mean.
No. Well, okay.
Why does it look like that?
You understand what I mean?
Here's a question for you. Is the moon round? Spherical?
Yes, it appears to be circular.
Circular or spherical?
I mean, it definitely has spherical-like sort of characteristics, but it seems to actually, in some cases, not really exhibit everything that we would expect from something of a sphere.
That one photograph is the clearest example of a spherical thing being lit that I think I've ever seen.
Well, why is it bright on the right-hand side where I've got the arrow? Why is that little bit of red light over there? What's going on?
You'll often have that on objects that are lit, even from one side, the light will wrap around.
Yeah, you've got
no. There is no atmosphere. There is no wraparound atmosphere. There's no light for there's no atmosphere for the light to wrap around.
You've got what you're seeing there is the contrast of that lava field against a more coarse terrain.
A lava field.
Yeah, the black, what they call the Mars. Yeah, the black oceans on the moon, which are lava flows. But I know you're not going to like that because the moon.
Well, it's not volcanic in any way,
It
shape, or
was.
form. So,
It used
so
to
you
be.
say.
It used to
So
be.
you say.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Again, the moon. You just don't like the moon.
Love the moon, man. The moon's not the problem. Your interpretation of the moon is the problem.
Well,
What's
we
your
can agree that
interpretation
it's
of the moon?
that it's spherical. We can agree on that.
It gives off spherical-like characteristics. I'll grant you that. But
And
it
so-
seems to be lacking in all the aspects of a spherical-like structure in the way you would expect to be lit within no atmosphere.
How?
Wow. There's no response to that.
No,
How?
okay, so we got
Explain-
common ground there.
yeah,
We
but-
got the moon is a sphere. All right, good. The other thing we can say
It's a
is the moon
plasma
isn't
ball.
close.
Okay, it's a plasma ball in the sky. I'll give you
Plasma
that.
ball.
It's a plasma ball. Yeah, of course it is.
Okay.
Well, it's the same size as the freaking sun, man.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
It's-
is.
Yeah.
Much
When,
more than the sun.
but when you hear
It's-
the statement like that, there's just no way to
Well,
respond
well,
to that
well,
level.
you-
of
The angular same size as the sun from Earth. Yes, it is.
It's 400 times
Angular.
closer.
Hey,
400
You
times
said
smaller.
angular size, but before you just said size. So angular size, yes, but these are small. These are far away. Yeah,
Okay.
same thing.
So you
it-
say.
And
So
it is-
it varies, and it varies slightly as well.
Yeah, right. Okay.
there are ways
Yeah.
of measuring the moon distance, so we can do that.
Well, there was
We-
this
we
one.
can do what? What are you gonna
There
do?
was this
You're gonna
one
bounce
photograph.
lasers?
There was this one photograph just the other night where Jesse Path of Light and Seafoam, I think, they photographed it simultaneously from two different locations, very far away. And if you go through the geometry, it estimates out at least 250,000 miles.
That's cool.
Because they had a
There's
baseline,
lots
of
they had a
difference.
baseline of like over 1,500 kilometers.
So you
And
didn't bounce anything
simultaneous-
off at this time?
There's several
Simultaneous,
things you can do to gauge
simultaneous
distance.
photographs with stars fused as fiducial points to deal with the scale of each camera. Everything you want in science is right there in that paraphoto. In that
Science.
Give us
Yeah,
a scientific basis to say that it is not close. That it is close, not just that it might
Same-
look a
The
certain
same
way.
size. It's the same size, and you've never been there, and your claims of landing.
People have been there.
yeah,
Oh, God, that is so cute.
yeah, there's no
It is
point.
so cute. People have
There's no
been
point-
there. Mate,
there's
you
no
got
point in
no
engaging.
basis for claiming that. Eh?
I have.
Yeah, there's
I
no
have
point.
plenty
Hang
of
on,
basis for
hang on.
saying that.
Yeah,
You need a hand to move you need a hand to lift those goalposts out of the way.
Yeah, it's
the two
it's all
images.
I'll
The
go
two
back.
That's all-
images,
that's part of the whole thing.
which was posted yesterday, where the stars were lined up, and you saw how the moon had slightly different position from two observers, and it was calculated as well, wasn't it? Well, about 250 or so thousand miles.
There's so many ways you
Back
can.
him up, Shubal.
The
Some ways you
estimation. The estimation's a little bit rough, but it's still in the 250,000 mile
Yeah,
range,
it's
maybe
still-
260,000. Yeah, that's like 7% longer than what we've been told.
So
If I put
what
my
you
thumb
can
up
do
in
is
front of if I
we
put
can
my
rule
thumb
out
up in
two
front of the
things.
moon, if I put
Go
my
ahead,
thumb up
Terry.
in front of the moon or the sun, does that mean my thumb's the same size as the?
Angularly, same size, yeah,
Well,
for sure.
we can do-
Angular, yeah. Well, yeah,
we
these
can-
are
At least
small.
you can-
Those are far
Yeah,
away.
but at least you
Angular
can
size,
suck on
got
your
it.
thumb.
You know,
no, at least wait. At least you can suck on your thumb. You can't land on the moon, man. It's two different things, okay?
Okay, how about
you,
this?
you suck at this your argument.
Yeah, how about this? If you take into account perspective, but you aren't.
for once.
That's a big word.
So we can
Perspective.
agree on two things. We can agree that the moon is spherical, and we can agree that the moon is not close.
I am actually kind of reluctantly not opposed to the notion of something akin spherical, though. I mean, I don't know. The other problem I've got with the whole spherical argument is the fact that you only ever see the same side. So
Yes.
You can see, we can see,
dude,
like, is it
like, can you guys-
57 or
can you guys
59%
Can you
of
guys
it has it.
agree? Okay.
Hang on.
Here's my notion here. Like within
Go
the
ahead,
big
Rusty.
cosmic order of things, right? You find yourself within the cosmos, right? By chance, to have been born apparently on a planet with an irregular sized moon that happens to always be facing you and be the exact same size as the sun, which is actually one of my like kind of rationales. So like the notion that you live on this so-called like outskirt of some random possibility through entropy and chaos, that you found yourself in this position where, you know, the cosmic lights above us happen to be the same size.
Okay.
In the order of possibility within the universe that is
First-
proposed
first
by
of
the
all,
heliocentric
Well, let him
model,
finish his
that is
thought.
absolutely
Let him finish his thought.
preposterous. It's so preposterous. Like I would imagine that there'd be like within the heliocentric model, there'd be thousands of like possible life forms out in different worlds in different places, right? And the fact that like the chances of them having a moon like ours, it's just not possible. So, I mean, this is the reason why I started asking some questions, right? This is why I find it so reasonable to actually challenge this. We find ourselves on a planet within the heliocentric model, we find ourselves on a planet that just so happens to cause this phenomenon that we're observing. That's pretty gnarly within the cosmic order of things, right? Can I get a bit of a nod from you guys to sort of like, at least know that we are in a fantastical place?
But first of all, I think we can observe. Is it 57 or 59% of the surface?
The libration. The libation of it. And he doesn't like tidal locking. He doesn't like tidal locking.
Do you guys acknowledge
and the angular size changes slightly as well.
Very slightly, yeah.
Do you guys acknowledge that it's a fantastical chance that we find ourselves on that planet that's been doing that thing?
No, I don't. I don't.
You don't think that's a fantastical chance?
The conditions on this planet.
If you look at any other place in the solar system, you don't have that scenario.
You're very long-winded. It's quite simple. The Earth has had the conditions for life. That's why there's life on Earth.
It's not winded, it's winded.
So for that argument, no, I would agree with that argument. If you can come up with a plausible reason why the moon is somehow specifically necessary for the causation of life, I would appreciate that point, right? That the nature of the moon in and of itself, like being its size, proportion, maybe it's got like some sort of kind of full cosmic reason that life was able to happen here on Earth. Can you give me something that sort of, the moon is actually the reason?
The
tidal forces have got nothing to do with life. Okay?
The moon.
Tidal forces.
The moon.
No. I'm asking for the nature of life.
Right.
To be,
you asked the question, but you don't want an answer. Are you going to go wait for an answer? Of course not.
Go for it.
Let's get
the moon's effect on our orbit stabilizes our rotation. So yes, it does cause that marvelous day-night cycle in seasons and prevents the Earth's wobble or rotation or axis to become erratic. So yeah,
is it causally relatable to the actual the creation of life, like the abiogenesis that you guys want to invoke?
The Earth-Moon system. The Earth-Moon system. Oh, forget it.
No, the
moon was like 4 billion years ago. The moon was much closer to the Earth.
Dude, you don't know that.
Stop
claiming it. You don't know that.
Hang on. Let me finish.
Ridiculous claim. You're claiming the Bible.
It still moves away about an inch a year or something like that.
It's something like that.
And the tidal forces acting on the Earth from the moon slows the rotation of the Earth ever so slightly.
Did the moon ever hit the Earth?
No one actually know.
That's what they say.
Theory, right?
No. They say that because the moon rocks are the same as the Earth rocks. They say that because they're the same.
Are they?
No.
Yeah. They got similar characteristics. That's what they say, man.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a potential. Yeah, back early on when things were far more dynamic, it is theorized or hypothesized that there was an impact of another body with the early Earth, which put the Earth into a kind of a massive molten reset, and the debris cast out coalesced into the moon. Okay? Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Preposterous idea, but at least you acknowledge it.
Well, what's a reasonable idea? What is a reasonable idea? What you think is reasonable?
It was set there in place by something of a cosmic order that we can't rationalize it here as being human. Like, we've been born into this reality, not knowing where we came from.
Yeah. Do you think God did it? Do you think God did it? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
The creation called it forth. I don't presume to know exactly why or God's actions and purpose.
I don't mind doing that.
Okay, so awesome.
So the idea that it's just pure chance and it's spinning out in the middle of nowhere and it's all just wacky and wild. I don't.
You're having trouble, right? Yeah, you've got to ask the right questions, man. Just ask yourself, how do you find yourself, as a conscious being, having to be born in all the possible opportunities of life being exhibited in any other place in galaxy in your cosmological imagination, you found yourself on a planet, right, that happens to have a moon the same size as the sun, optically, visually. Dude, because if you go look at any of the other analysis that they do of these exoplanets, there is no such thing as this notion of a same size moon.
It's unusual. So it's unusual.
It's not happening. Yeah, dude, it's so unusual. And you balance that then with the idea that the axis of evil, when they do those observations that we find ourselves at the center of the universe, apparently. You add all these things up, and then you got to start asking questions. That's my interpretation.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. But I don't know if any of that would count. You could put in the category of preposterous. We live on a planet. That's not preposterous. We're orbiting a moon.
It is a preposterous notion, yeah.
A sun. That's not preposterous. It's perfectly easily explained.
No, but a massive nuclear explosion occurring in the sky for billions and billions of years is the preposterous aspect. We all agree that the sun is the sun, man. And it's very bright. You shouldn't look at it for too long. Right?
I didn't say anything about a massive explosion.
Dude, it's an exploding. It's a nuclear fusion bomb going off in the sky. That's your model.
What's your model?
It's a ether, like a central ether sort of emission, like a focal point of energy.
Coming from where? Where does that energy come from?
I suspect that at the center of creation, which sits above the North Pole, which is occluded from us because of the mirroring aspect of the firmament, that's what we sort of are actually seeing up in the sky is a visual sort of like a 2D display of a three-dimensional like central like center of creation, which is being projected upon the sky that we observe. This is why it looks like a 3D. Yeah. This is why it looks like a three-dimensional object you can go land on, like the moon, right? It's because it's actually an orb. But where that orb is not actually where it appears to be because it's a projection down upon that surface that we call the firmament.
Okay. So this firmament are able to reflect all kinds of electromagnetic radiation?
Yes, it's a refractive surface of sorts, something akin to glass.
Maybe ham radio.
No, it can't be glass. Oh. I mean, how does glass reflect like neutrinos?
Well, if you hit glass at a certain refractive index, right? Like glass reflects and transmits light, but it depends on the incidence that the light hits or the angle of incidence that the light hits the surface.
So is this dome sort of curved? Is this dome sort of curved above the Earth?
I suspect that it might be actually something I mean, it's a butt pan, I think is the terminology I've heard before, where you've got kind of lit like a
cake,
a curved surface at the edges, and then something that's more flat at the top. But I wouldn't assert anything.
So the light then from the sun is reflected off this dome.
No, it's a central focal point that actually sort of focuses the light through.
Through what?
Have you ever seen Taylor's got a really good little experiment you can do if you have a something like a snow dome or a glass hemisphere, and then you take just a torch and look at the artifacts of light that are created as you rotate that torch above that hemisphere of glass. You end up with what is actually something very akin to a main focal point, which might be the sun, and then you end up with a secondary source of light. And I would be so bold as to claim that might be akin to the moon.
Observe from the outside of the dome. When was it? When was it?
Yeah.
Did you see McToon's example where he had the camera inside, like a glass dome, and had some stars and things, and was rotating it? It does not add up to what we observe in reality.
And the star's going the wrong way as well.
Yep. Yeah, but when I said we don't observe things in reality, like the photo imagery that you guys were showing before, like you came up with all these excuses about exposure rates for cameras. So do we observe this in reality, or have we got an excuse for the reason why we don't see something in reality? What's the go?
Right, well, those aren't excuses.
Have you ever used that?
Because light behaves a certain way in certain conditions. And if it's just random, we could just make up anything we wanted and no one would agree.
I got reasons just like you guys have got reasons, man.
Well, here's the thing is, if that was the case, then we'd all have different ideas of how it all works.
And we have different ideas, hence why we're having this discourse right now.
No, I mean, on the globe side, we'd have all these different ideas of how all this might work. But we don't. We have pretty consistent ideas of how this stuff works.
Yeah, that's what you call a religion. Like you're just genuflecting towards that religiosity, that sort of interpretation of reality.
Like, for instance,
the globe would have all these different, like, alternative options. No, you guys are a centralized authority. You get all of your opinions from it's a top-down sort of.
You're being very insulting. You know that, right? I don't think you realize how insulting you're being. You're just being really insulting, and I think you think that that's okay because we're being polite to you. You gave your ideas. How many people in here just said, sort of preposterous load of crap? How many people said that, Rixky? Why is it okay for you to call everything that we're saying preposterous load of crap? But when you come up with your ideas, no one said that to you. Why is that, Risky? Why do you think that's okay? I'd like to know.
You got me at a bad time. Sorry, I was just having to converse with something else. Yeah, look, dude, I am being a little bit insulting.
I was tuning you out and you missed it.
No, yeah, that's right. You can tune me out. But all I'm saying is I'm punching up here, right? I'm punching up. You guys think you can punch down? Go for it.
What do you mean?
But
by punching up?
I'm here to challenge the authorities, man.
So how about this? If I do my best,
am I insulting your authority? Is that what's going on here? Is that why
no,
you're
just being very
you're offended?
condescending. No, you're just being very
Oh, okay.
condescending and.
Well, I punch up, bro. That's all I'm doing. I'm punching up.
It's not necessary to be that condescending, though, is it? Or is it?
I don't think I was being necessarily as condescending.
Well,
as
I think you were, and it was kind of obvious that you were.
Look, dude. I will try to be a little bit. We'll adjust my mannerisms in time. Okay. Cool.
I mean, when you were finished talking, everyone was like, "Okay." No one said, "You know what? That's a load of crap, man. That's just preposterous nonsense. You just made all that up." No one did that.
Yeah, they did.
No, I don't think so. I didn't hear anyone say.
Yeah, I said that the moon is the same size as the sun. You guys went off and this like scoffed.
Okay, well, the moon isn't the same size as the sun.
To...
It just appears to be, because the moon and the sun are different distances.
Well,
if you took the time to actually find out the distances, then you would find that out.
I know the arguments.
But you haven't taken the time to find out the distances of those two objects.
I used to be a globe. Like, let's not get anything.
I don't think that really matters. I don't, because I used to be a child, but I don't act like a child anymore.
Have you taken the time have you taken the time to study the people that told you that they're different sizes?
Just what they say. Not study the people themselves. This is what they look at. Like what the people.
Well, no, to you. Hold on one second, to this gentleman. Did you take the time to study the people that told you that they're different sizes?
No, because if I were to waste my time doing the experiments and doing the observations and finding out for myself, I'd find out just exactly what they have, because everyone has done that.
I didn't say the experiments.
Well, then you're out of the discussion, Red Cloud.
Hold on. I didn't say
you're just Googling stuff.
I'm very much
repeating. You Google and repeat. That's all you just claimed.
Well, what are you doing? You sound like you're making things up as you go along.
No, I'm reflecting upon it. There's a bunch of different dynamics that I'm calling forth to explain the phenomenon. He's just got an interesting point, though. Like, have you gone into actually looking at where the source, like, what is the nature and culture of the people that make these claims? Have you gone and looked at what these people do?
All of them? Because these things aren't just established by people.
How about just the ones that went to the moon? How about just the ones that went to the moon?
Why? Because there aren't just those people. You realize, right? Because you have a Russian space agency.
What is your concrete evidence that the moon and the sun are different sizes?
My concrete evidence is that everyone who has attempted to measure the distances of those two objects have concluded that they are definitely not close as flat Earth needs them to be. Simple as that.
No.
They're not
I
close.
thought the argument was that they're the same size.
No, the argument is that they appear the same size.
Right. And I'm asking you, what evidence do you have to suggest that they're not?
Because everyone who has taken the time to study and find out the distances of those two objects all have come to the same conclusion. And we're talking about astronomers in multiple countries all around the world, all coming to the same conclusion.
Do you know what a deferral to authority is, Red Cloud?
No.
Like,
okay.
Do you know what it means inside of an argument and the nature of its discourse? It means I'm not actually talking to you. It means I'm talking to, or I'm actually tangoing with something that sits outside of you, because you're just referring to something else.
Right. And if I do that experiment myself and I found out the distance of the moon and the distance of the sun, I spend 3 or 4 years doing that. I come back in here. What difference will it make? It'll make a subtle difference, in other words. It won't make any difference.
It depends on the subtlety of, just go research the people that make the claims, and you actually get far more revealing, sort of, rather than using their specific techniques to invoke the same claims that they're basically making. Just go look at what the nature of the people that make these claims.
It isn't scientific at all. Study the people. Well, I'm supposed to go to all the astronomers in all of the whole world, all the Russian astronomers, the Chinese astronomers.
See, this is the thing. Science
all
is an
over the world,
ideology.
and study them and study the methodologies.
You acknowledge that science is an ideology of that?
No, I don't
acknowledge
that.
You're referring to the ideology in order to reinforce the doctrine?
No,
I don't. Go outside of the doctrine?
I think that's a conspiratorial mindset that doesn't make any sense in the long run.
No, but that's a cross-reference. You need to basically go outside of the doctrine in order to ensure that the doctrine is true.
Okay, but you're just calling
perspective.
What you're doing is you're calling everyone who's ever done the experiments and ever measured the distances to the sun and the moon, and when they've drawn their conclusions, you're just calling that doctrine. You're
doing the same thing, though, dude. But if you went off and did the experiments, you would come to the same conclusions, and then you're referring to all these other people who have apparently done the same thing. They come to the same conclusions.
Right, but here's the thing.
They're doing the same thing, man.
If I did that and I spent, say, 5 years and I become an expert in this topic, right? I spent 5 years doing it, and I measure the distance using my own techniques. I do what I can, and then I publish a paper or I publish a book and I put it on Amazon. What you'd then do is you'd call me, an appeal to an authority. All right, and then anyone referring to what I did, you'd call them, "Oh, you're just appealing to authority."
Depends on who you were
funded. Dogma.
Depends who you were funded by. And I'll just invoke one other. I'll invoke one scientist, right? I'll invoke one scientist in this discussion. I want to hand over to Issa.
Well,
there's a guy in Australia, and he was an Australian scientist, and he said the moon is made of plasma. He did that on the national broadcast.
And that guy disappeared immediately.
Yeah, he disappeared immediately. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, no, so it's completely expected because what he said was bollocks beyond reproach.
The one guy.
No. It wasn't bollocks. It challenged the status quo. It challenged the.
And it was it's completely unsupported
opinion.
And it was completely unsupported. Yeah, so he became insignificant. And people just turned their back on him.
Exactly, but that's the nature of empire, isn't it?
Okay, but how about this?
They can make erroneous decisions, and it doesn't even matter if you're true or you're telling the truth anymore.
You haven't proven that anything.
And this is what you guys keep invoking, the consensus.
You haven't proven anything.
Okay,
you haven't said anything to prove to me or to show me that anything that they've done to show the distance to the sun. Let me finish my sentence. What you haven't done is show me any evidence that anything that they've done to gauge the distance to the sun and the moon is erroneous or faulty scientifically. You're just saying nuh-uh and whatever else because you don't like the conclusions. And the conclusions are that neither of them are close, neither of them are small. And if they're not close and not small, then they can't be circling overhead a few hundred miles or a few thousand miles away from the flat Earth. Therefore, the Earth isn't flat.
You don't understand the nature of how the eyes work then. Does anyone else want to jump
in? It had nothing to do with the eyes.
A good one. Have you studied people?
Hold on. Wait a second. May I? Yeah, okay. For instance, the photograph that was taken just the other day, where you have the parallax displacement of the moon from two observers like 1,800 kilometers apart, okay? That estimates 250,000 miles, give or take. It's a rough measurement. Now, we also have Venus passing in front of the sun. We've seen with my own eyeballs, I've seen the transit of Venus across the sun. So where the fuck is Venus? Venus is nowhere near the same distance as the moon, and is nowhere near the distance of the sun. So it's in between. It's in between the Earth and the sun. Yeah.
Sure. No worries. Cool. It's a smaller object, though, right? It doesn't need to be like so far away. It just needs to be a smaller object.
It just needs to be not close, and it disproves flat Earth. And it needs to be
close is a subjective opinion, man. It's based
we know what Venus is.
Close is a proximal sort of notion. Close. What is close? What does that mean?
According to flat Earth, it's under 5,000 miles.
The distance to Venus is measured by radar.
Yeah, there's a bunch of ways you can measure.
People talk about how like close they are with friends and family, right? Like, oh, my friend's over in bloody Germany or something, but I'm really close with them. So, like, come on.
We can use specific numbers. What we know is it isn't under 5,000 miles away.
You're specific. You know that. This is a funny thing, then.
The thing is,
it's angular sizes.
I know that it is definitely not 5,000 or less miles away.
And the transit of Venus was witnessed by millions as recently as 2012 by prediction. They said exactly when it would show up.
What does transit mean? What does transit mean?
You. See, there you go with your rude over talking. Fuck off.
So transit means you're going one thing's going in front of something else. Is that all it is?
Risky likes to overtalk when he gets to a certain point in the conversation.
I do the same thing.
You need to chill out, Rick.
I do the same thing, so I understand.
I've been called out, so I'm going to chill out for a bit. So,
let me ask you a question. You said
I'm giving myself 5 minutes. Go ahead.
You're talking about checking into the people who made the claims. Have you looked into the people?
Yeah. I find them wanting.
So all the astronomers and all the scientists all over the world, you checked into all those people.
The Chinese astronomers? Did you check into the Chinese astronomers?
Okay,
because they all agree.
This is the way I would analogize this, right? I don't think that the Catholic priest, let's go back in time for a second, right? And the Catholics are kind of trying to sort of colonize the world through their ideas. That priest who walks around thinking that they've got the right ideas and they're trying to provide salvation to the savages, he's not my problem. I recognize that person's under the influence of some idea, yeah? But I will hold the top echelon accountable because I believe that they actually know what they're participating in. So when they started selling, they traded money for sins, essentially. I criticized them. But the person who is under the delusion that they're doing something good in the world, all I can do is just point to the problem. I don't think that they're the purveyors of misinformation in that sense. So the scientists that you're referring to, they're just under the same delusion, essentially.
What delusion is that? Explain what you mean by delusion. What if I measure the distance to the moon using 10 different methods and then I get results that basically sort of pretty closely match? That's a delusion. And then I have people in other countries that agree with me. That's a delusion. It's all just an illusion because it
You
disproves
have
that.
to articulate every single one of those. You just can't invoke that I confirmed a sentiment like 10 different ways and then just say that, well, therefore it must be true. Like each one of those things must be sort of expressed.
But don't forget, academics compete against each other trying to prove the other one wrong.
Yeah,
but they also have the suppression of information occurring at the moment as far as peer review is concerned, right? The only way that you can actually get a PhD this is a pretty bold claim to say, but really the only way that you can get a PhD is that if your professor signs off on your particular investigative kind of niche. It doesn't happen without the consent of a professor, which implies actually a form of nepotism. What you're providing to the system has to already comport with it and then add to it. If you go in and challenge the system, you're not going to get a PhD. It's just not going to happen.
Okay, that's all very well and good, and that's fine. Okay, except for the problem that you have, that how are they going to suppress the Chinese astronomers' conclusions? The Chinese astronomers, I just looked at it because I knew a little bit about them, but not very much. They've been, it says, refining for more than 3,000 years. The Chinese have been doing astronomy, dude. 3,000 years, and they all agree with us. And the currently.
No, but Red Cloud, are you familiar that when the Jesuits, there was one of their major accomplishments was working and taking the Chinese calendar and astronomy. I'll post it. The Jesuits actually worked with the Chinese to create the current collection. I'll post it for you guys.
I would invoke that this is what we would refer to as global empire, essentially. And all you're doing is actually just deferring, like you think that they're the enemy and that they should, as a consequence, because they are the enemy, that you would hear necessarily the truth about what China is, and they would tell you the truth. Do you actually think that the truth would come out of China?
I think there's no reason to attempt to hide the distances and the studies that they've done.
Okay. There is a reason. There is a reason that you haven't considered, because this is part of global empire. The nature of the interpretation of the cosmos, right, is commonly of value to the Chinese as it is to the West. If they have common cause in having you believe that, then they will both agree to comport with that, and they will have disagreements on different angles, which is why they can get away with the idea that they're actually battling with one another, they're in competition, but truly they're actually working together because they have a common value in the control of population.
Yeah, you see, Missouri just won a lawsuit, $27 billion that China's got to pay Missouri. Pretty cool, right?
We'll see whether they pay or not.
They're going to pay.
So this is a deception that goes back at least 3,000 years, and
yes,
they can't stop. They can't stop it. They can't stop you. They can't stop anyone.
Yeah, they can't, man. The truth
they're powerless to stop you.
It's more profitable to tell a lie because you actually don't need to produce the actual
That's just absurd.
Product or solution.
No, it's not,
dude, just look at the vaccines, my guy. Just look at the vaccines. Just take the whole medical system and
you're going to vaccines now. You're not. Why won't you talk about the distance to the sun or the moon? Why would you not actually try and find out the distance to the sun or the moon? Why would you not do any of that? I think you want to stay ignorant. That's what I think. I think you're just happy not knowing, and then accusing other people of being ignorant because you want to be
knowing. I'm content in not knowing, for sure. I mean, that's your interpretation.
Not everyone needs to know things.
You seem to understand what I'm saying, so at least I'm able to articulate a sentence which is coherent, right? So you're just disagreeing with the statements.
It's all geared to create a conspiracy out of thin air, and you do what's necessary to continue creating that conspiracy.
That's what they're doing. They're creating the conspiracy that I'm responding to.
There is no conspiracy, dude. That's paranoid.
So there is no conspiracy, or there is no such thing as a conspiracy. Which one do you want to go with?
Which one did I say?
So there's no such thing as conspiracy?
Which one did I say? Which one do you think I'm implying?
So you said that there is no conspiracy. So does that mean that there are no conspiracies in the world? There is no conspiracy.
Who has ever said there are no conspiracies?
Thank you. You just said that. That was your statement.
Who has? No, that wasn't my statement. Who has ever? Do you know anyone who's ever said no? There were never any conspiracies.
Yeah, just go listen to a couple of the bloody guys over, I don't know, some shit channel.
Go record. I want citation.
Go to politics and religion or something.
You won't find anyone who says no. There's no such thing as conspiracy. What you're saying is there is a massive conspiracy going back thousands of years to hide the distance to the sun.
Question for you. Okay, I want to know from your point of view, right? When the guy came out that said the Earth is not flat, and the Catholics and all the religions, right, said that the Earth was flat, and some guy came out and said, "Oh no, it's actually a globe," right? And what was he? He was burned at the stake, apparently, right, for propagating a conspiracy.
All right.
So, yeah.
No.
So the nature of power is it in order to control information or not?
Well, who burned him at the stake?
Probably Catholic Church.
Probably. Do you not know?
It's good enough for me. I don't care. It's the powers that be. The powers that be that wanted to control the interpretation for the masses decided to burn the guide as a heretic for saying that the Earth was a globe. Right.
So you really don't know. You're just going to make up any sort
Is it not true then? So the globe wasn't prosecuted. Like anyone who believes in the globe. So are you saying that the globe wasn't born out of like some form of conspiracy then?
No, absolutely.
Because the globe was born out of a conspiracy.
No.
It initially started as a conspiracy that they were trying to hide the nature of the Earth, and they said it was flat. And this guy says, no, it's actually a ball.
No, because discoveries were happening in multiple countries, not just one country, not just Europe. That's the thing you're missing. Independently of each other. Independently, and you can't prove that there is any. You can't prove any conspiracy that they were.
There is no independence. China is the manufacturing center of the world.
You're just making that up.
They're just the industrial sector of the world. That's all China is.
Yeah, Ricksky, I remember there was at one point everyone thought it was a geocentric model, but then when people started saying no, it was a heliocentric model, then there was chaos.
Well, they were conspirators.
Yeah.
To say that the Earth wasn't what it was, they were burnt at the stake, and they were heretics to the flat Earth conception.
What do you mean there was chaos?
They say that there's a sociological chaos. There was
how do you know that?
Society.
You didn't know who these people are.
This is what we're told in the history books.
Where?
I thought history was a lie.
Reformation.
History is a lie, but you believe it.
So how do you know what happened?
But I'm arguing from the position that you believe the thing that they say, and I'm using your argument against the notion of it. I don't believe it. I'm saying why
done a very good job because you haven't really said anything specific. I asked you about who did that, and you said probably the Catholics. Which means you don't even know.
It wasn't Copernicus. I'll go look up the specific name of the.
Why don't you go look up some specifics and then give us something specific, and then prove that those things happened.
So Red Cloud, are you saying that the people who first found out that the Earth was a globe were not burnt as heretics?
No, because there are people who found out the Earth was a globe in India, people who found out the Earth was a globe in China. Those people weren't burned at the stake. Why weren't those people burned at the stake?
You're not understanding the nature of empire.
No, you're not. I'm understanding the nature of the conspiracy that has to basically create this massive global multi-generational conspiracy to hide something that no one is trying to hide.
Well, how do you knit these? How do you knit all these different nations together under a certain
You just invent a conspiracy. You invent a system whereby you can basically make a conspiracy no matter what I refer to. If I refer to Indian astronomers, you could come up with something to connect them to the Vatican.
What,
because you think there's a big, huge, great big.
Man, the Vedics are based. Don't worry about that, man. They're good.
Okay, but they believe the Earth.
Anyone else you want to invoke?
Yeah, literally.
No, so many of the the ancient cosmologies are flat Earth, man. This is a new conception. This has come along with the nature of science, and science is not what you think it is. It's a sociological interpretation. It's an ideology. In and of itself, science is an ideology.
Science is a way of finding things out. That's all it is.
No, then we've had science. We've had science from forever. So why did it become science? Why do we need to call it science all of a sudden then? People have always been trying to work stuff out. All of a sudden, this idea of science came along as if people weren't rational prior to the invention of science. That's just a preposterous notion.
No,
we built whole civilizations.
What you just said was preposterous. Whoever said that is the case?
No, but you're claiming that science has guided us out of this dark path. But all it is, in my interpretation,
can you rewind on? You go to the YouTube channel, rewind.
It's an ideology. Science is an ideology.
The point where I said that. You're putting a lot of words in my mouth, dude.
Okay,
you're doing a lot of bad faith things in here, man. You're a lot of bad faith things. I did not say any of that.
No worries. Yeah, if you're not down for it, let's go.
There's been lots of evidence
stop putting words in people's mouths
where they're just deceiving the public. It's happened for time and time again.
Here's the trick, though, Red Cloud. I think I'm actually permitted to put stuff in your mouth because you believe what the authorities say, and the authorities say X, Y, Z. And so that if I pick up X and say X is preposterous, you're saying that I'm putting words in your mouth. But, I mean, if you believe in the heliocentric model, no.
What you're doing is making stuff up.
This is all you're referring to, dude. Like it's some sort of amorphous structure of you're just lying or making stuff up. No, if you believe in the authorities, right, and they're telling you the truth, I can pick apart any tiny aspect of what the authorities say and say that you therefore must believe in that. That has to be the way it is.
Well, here's the thing, like I just said, if I go and find out this information for myself, then none of anything you just said makes a difference.
Yeah, because you went out and looked for it for yourself. I'm not involved in the conversation at that point, so I'm not relevant if you go do it for yourself. And so,
well, the typical thing is that people who do that won't come into conversations like this. That's for sure.
Go for it, man. I don't know. Whatever you're calling for, but I don't feel like I'm as bad a guy as what you're proposing, man. I just think it's preposterous. And look, I feel like
I just think your conduct here is just.
I'm coming with a bit of energy, right? And I'm punching up, man. I'm not punching down. So that's my interpretation.
Okay. Right. No one's offended.
It's definitely safe to say, though, Riksky, that people can claim to use science against people. They'll claim to use science, but what they'll really be doing is either covering up what they're doing or using false science. There's there's countless examples of that throughout history. From
this is my point. Like,
tobacco.
What is this phenomenon of science? I think it's a sociological movement.
You're using science right now, though. Science created the
science?
Flat Earth movement. Science created the Flat Earth movement because the internet was created by science.
Sociological, social engineers created the Flat Earth movement.
Yo, Riksky.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was just going to introduce something. Like, I'm just like a little busy over here. Yo, do you know who Fred Hoyle is? Like, I put a quote in there in the chat somewhere. But my point being, the gentleman said earlier about the globe side doesn't have any like differing opinions about certain things, and I was wondering, I think that's untrue. Like, there's a lot of cosmologists and stuff that disagree with standard models, and one of the a great example of that is Fred Hoyle. If you don't know who that is, I got to do stuff, but I just want to interject. Like, there is debate amongst the quote unquote, normal, or whatever globe society that like things presented aren't necessarily, that there's still some discussion in the, on the globe side amongst the proper scientists and cosmologists. That's all. I think like trying to say that like the version they gave us in kindergarten is just universally accepted is not true. I think is my point.
No, it is universally accepted, man. They think it's a bunch of like rock balls floating around.
Well, hold on.
Magnetic functions and some that protect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm introducing. This is what I'm trying to introduce. Is that like see, but then Rixie, you're making his claim, and this is what I'm trying to say is that like it's a false claim. So like the globe is divided. There are problems amongst scientists who think that uniformity. I'm saying like to say that there is some kind of uniformity amongst them is disingenuous. That's all.
No, but they have to believe in the balls floating around then.
Right, Rixie, but the point is that even in the globe side, this is what dismantles this gentleman's argument, is the idea that the globe is settled on this particular science, when in reality there's gentlemen like Fred Hoyle and other cosmologists that disprove that notion. That's all I'm trying to say.
What is he disproving? That there are planets and there are stars and none of them are close?
Well, no,
the moon is not close, the sun is not close, Venus is not close.
He makes alternative conclusions than what you may have been taught, that's all. And he's a respected cosmologist. I'm just saying there is a debate, that's all.
Is there a debate of the shape of the Earth for Hoyle? Does Hoyle?
There's been a debate of the shape of the Earth for a very long time.
Well, yeah, check it out. Red Cloud. Red Cloud.
Would you agree died out until 2012,
Red Cloud.
2014.
Is the universe flat?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Well, that is what they say. That's what they say.
Literally,
it is interesting.
Whatever the people who observe it say it is, well, it appears to be. Whatever.
It's wild to me that it could be an infinite. It's wild to me that it can be an infinite space, and it can be flat. But God forbid the Earth be flat.
Yes, because Earth is flat.
Okay, man. Sure.
Yeah, because Earth
the observation
flat.
is. Yeah, what is it? The observation that the axis of evil is flat, and then it's preposterous that the Earth may be flat as a concept. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, so whether a universe is flat or not doesn't change the shape of the Earth. Because
and whether or not the
planet,
star
and it's just filled with planets and stars and moons.
Right, and
exactly.
just because the star, the sky above you looks spherical, it doesn't mean the Earth is spherical either.
No, but that's why you go out beyond the Earth and look back. And everyone
and that's what I asked you about.
Has seen. The people have done that. Craft have done that. Yamawari is currently doing that.
No, fair enough. So, do you think that, like they said when they landed on the moon and dropped the hammer and the feather, do you think that, essentially, that is the only quote unquote tangible proof we have for Kepler and the rest of it? So, when they dropped the hammer and the feather and they said, "Boom, we've just proven Kepler and Copernicus and Galileo correct," do you believe that?
You know what? If they say
that's your only third-party confirmation of the idea.
No, it isn't. No,
it is.
The thing is, you can pick apart little tiny parts, and you can cite one individual scientist. You can cite Hoyle or someone from Australia. Okay, you can do all that. But what you need to do, what you've got to do, is you've got to prove the Earth is flat, which you haven't done. You've got to prove that the sun and the moon or whatever are close, which you haven't done. You've got to prove that there is some kind of a dome or container because gas pressure without a container. You've got to do that, and you haven't done that. There's a bunch of stuff that you haven't done. You haven't even tried.
But you also haven't proven that you could have. I just want to see a microcosm of gas pressure without a container. And this is the difference between flat Earth and the globe is that
it's just a talking point that you got from the internet, man. It's not a scientific.
We have microcosm. Let me finish this one point, then I'm going to bow out. We have microcosm after microcosm after microcosm of our ideas. You don't. That's the difference.
You don't have anything. Your idea of a microcosm is handy. Putting a plastic dome over and shining flashlights. That's not a microcosm. I don't even know if you know what the word microcosm means.
Things, bro. Science doesn't prove things. Yeah. And you're asking us to prove something through science. It's just kind of funny.
Sometimes it does prove things.
It's a double negative.
No, it sometimes does prove things.
No, it doesn't prove things.
It definitely does. Science definitely does prove some things.
Science doesn't even claim to prove things, and yet you claim to speak for science, and you think it proves things. That's the problem. You think it proves things, and the scientific method, as it's laid out, actually suggests that it doesn't prove things. But you think it does prove things.
Let me ask you what the scientific method that you use to say the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
You're asking me.
I go
through this. I go through a sociological
we're going to ask
analysis.
You questions. You just saying no globe, no globe. You're not really saying yes, flat Earth. I noticed that.
It's the nature of civilization. Civilization in and of itself needs to tell itself a lie. That would seem to be the inherent nature of most civilizations. Dude, all civilizations of the past have always told a lie from the top down to the bottom. The Roman Empire, the Egyptians, every single one that you ever go look at has always told a lie from its top echelon down to its bottom echelon.
Okay.
They're
So your
clever about
theory
what
is...
they can get away with. No, they're very clever with what they can get away with, right? But that is the nature of empire, and that's the nature of civilization.
All right.
Hey, can I ask
the arguments that they're lying?
Quick question. This has got nothing to do with the topic, but Rick, did you just get beat up by the cyclone at all, or did you get through unscathed?
No, dude, my whole bloody back section got flooded. I'm still cleaning up, man.
Oh, are you? Okay, well, condolences about that, man. I just thought I'd ask. I hadn't seen you here for a while, and I was thinking, fuck, I hope you didn't get beat up by the cyclone. Cheers, guys. I just wanted to ask that. Sorry to interrupt your healthy discourse there. But yeah, all right, well, all the best. You're doing okay? You're coping with it, and the rest of you?
Yeah, I'll survive, man. It put me back about 2 weeks of my work, so yeah, it's not too bad.
Good to hear you got through it, guys, because you copped a beating. That was a hard one. So, cheers, guys. Back to your stuff. Just had to ask.
I think the TV oversold it, but yeah, I happen to live on a floodplain, so we copped it pretty hard.
You're getting hammered. We're getting hammered.
Wow. Yeah, it's almost like the climate change engineering sort of is taking
climate change.
Well, do you believe in climate change, or do you not? If you want to segue to a different conversation, this might be the opportunity, because I don't believe in climate change, but all this money that's going into this climate change endeavor, I think that they're using it to manipulate the weather. So that's my...
All right. Well, I don't know if they can, to what extent they could manipulate it, but I think trying to fiddle with it in any way is just doomed to fail.
Wow, no, see, here's the trick, man. It's all in the electricity. The clouds above us are an electrical phenomenon. This is why they form into little pockets. They're actually little sort of electrical vortices in the sky. But if they use these radars, so here's the way I thought about it, actually, just on a light point to get at the point. That which is capable of reading something is interacting with it. Do you agree or disagree?
That sounds reasonable. I will accept that as an axiom.
Okay, cool. So if they're shooting up waves that are interacting, right, and then you can see where the rain is falling, because whatever frequency they're punching out, right, whether it be it's reflecting off it or it's being absorbed by it, they can use that data and then interpret, okay, this is where the rain's falling and this is where the rain is not falling. That would imply that the energy is either being absorbed or reflected or doing something, right? So that which is capable of reading is also that which is capable of manipulating. Thusly, if they punch out a higher intensive frequency, they can actually make it rain.
Have you heard of the Dust Bowl?
I'm familiar with it. Yeah, what the American interpretation? Dust Bowl?
It was an actual event, yeah. It was in the 1930s. It was a big drought. I was thinking if that happened today, people would scream climate change, global warming. I thought it was kind of funny. Well, I hope obviously I hope that doesn't happen because it was horrible. But if it did, all of the eco-mentalists would all go freak out and march in the street, because they seem to march in the street a lot for some reason.
This is a good topic with you, Red Cloud. I think you're can you see what I'm suggesting in the sense of all this funding and governmental sort of forcefulness as far as control of carbon offsets and inputs?
They have this. There's some companies that have benefited greatly from carbon offsets and stuff, and carbon credits and all that sort of crap. Tesla has benefited wildly from those things. Honda pays Tesla millions every year in carbon because they don't want to make electric cars, so they pay some fine, basically, and that money goes to Tesla. It's bizarre how that works.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They're wheeling and dealing. This like they get their shit made over in China for some dumb reason. Right?
I don't agree with them on a lot of things, and that's one of those things.
That's because they don't want people in America actually building shit. They want to make sure that when they're building stuff, like this technology and the construction of it is in the hands of a very controlled society such as China. This is why I think that China has become the manufacturing plant of like the so-called globe. Is because if they were to allow this technology into the hands of the general masses in order to produce it, that it means that they can't control it as well.
Wouldn't that be the opposite? If they had manufacturing here, they could control it more. Because don't forget,
because they're in
the
control
Chinese
of China
government.
as well.
It sounds like the opposite would be true, but China happened to become the world's manufacturer
why do you think
for several reasons.
Yeah, but the several reasons primarily are the fact that the manufacturers in America, let's say, just to use that sort of juxtaposition, they sold out the American manufacturing sector to China, right, in order to gain more profit and money. So they did that because the people of China are under far more pressure and control to conform to a slave-like status.
Yes.
So they sold it out. The
100%.
American, cool. So you agree with that then? So that whole infrastructure there of power were able to basically sell out their own population to an alternative population. Now, the point is, and by my interpretation, is that these powers are actually working together. This is not a left versus right, so America versus China problem. This is a top versus bottom problem. The super wealthy of China are working together to basically suppress both of the populations at the same time.
Okay.
Makes sense, right?
Well, what the Americans did is the Americans in the 60s, 70s, their management skills fell to pieces. I don't think they were ever very good. That's the thing is, I think the management skills of American manufacturers and British and European manufacturers have always been rubbish. And the Asian manufacturers have been eating their lunch for a long time. And then it just came to a head. Yeah, like it's going to do with cars. Yeah. Cars, there's going to be two main car manufacturers left standing. One is Tesla, and the other one is whatever Chinese manufacturer is going to take over. I'm not sure if it's going to be BYD or NIO or whatever.
Does that not speak to the nature of power, then?
No, it's just the way that economically it's happened. I don't know if if you can say that is something that's been done deliberately. Because what you can do is if they start bringing back manufacturing to America, which they're trying to do, that's what Trump's trying to do. So that's what tariffs are all about. If they're trying to do that, then you know. I mean, so
isn't it interesting that the only way that they can make something cheaper is by making the thing that they're importing more expensive? So that's the only way they can justify manufacturing in their own places, because they're basically tariffing a place which is like, dude, China's basically a slave. It's a slave plantation, right?
Yes.
I'm shorthanding the entire thing, but China is basically a slave plantation.
Yes, it is.
And they're responsible for all the manufacturing in the world. That is the perfect scenario. Which, like, if you want to prevent people from, like, your backyard mechanics working out how to make bloody like cheaper energy, like that's what you would do.
Well, you're missing something. The manufacturing, but manufacturing is not innovation. The Americans innovate more than any other nation. The Americans have created more things than any other nation. Even the
only to be exported to China. Yeah.
But the manufacturing is exported to China, but the innovation happens in America. If you look at an Apple iPhone, it says designed in California. It wasn't designed in China. All the Chinese do is do a tear down and copy job. They know how to make stuff. They just copy other people. They're not innovators. The Americans are the innovators. Now, that may be changing, but the Americans historically have been innovators. But what they do is it has just worked out economically. What they're not good at is management. Okay, so
it hasn't worked out economically. It's not economics, bro. It's really not economics. It's social policy. They made a deal with the slave plantation of China in order to basically get cheaper products to sell to the people. This is not economics. This is like institutionalized. They made decisions. These are human decisions. This is not like economics.
That's the definition of economics. That's what economics does.
But they're dealing. That's not inherently the nature.
Why would you have? If you had an opportunity to make something in America and it costs 4 times as much, would you do that? No, you wouldn't. You'd make it where it's inexpensive. Don't forget. Also, I'll just point out something that China is also losing in a lot of different ways. And the other thing about is that India and other areas are, like Malaysia and other places, they are coming to the fore as far as mass manufacturing as well. So it's not just China. China's falling apart. If you
granted, but you should have a discussion with SE. SE thinks that China's going to bloody take over the world, but I agree with you that their social arrangement, the way that they've constructed society, would lead itself to be very sort of fragile in a sense.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. I like that. That's very astute actually, because it is fragile. Because I mean, humans aren't really made to be under the yoke of communism, not for very long anyway. There's no communistic system that has lasted very long, and I don't think China's going to last all that long. The people are going to fight back at some point. It's falling apart right now, depending on who you listen to. I'm subscribed to different YouTube channels, and they sort of take the lid off China, because the flow of information is very tightly controlled, and they're like, China's falling apart.
Flow of information is controlled everywhere, man. It's just more controlled there. That's the irony. That's all I'm pointing at, man, is the control of information. It's just more controlled there. It's more obvious there. You think that you've got a free mind, free to do your own interpretation. That may not be the case. It's just like they're just more intense over there about the control of information.
I can say that. I can say, we can agree on a few things. One of them is that the flow of information is controlled.